everyone. I'm Nicole Boone. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. Today, my guest is Glenda Skipper, founder and CEO of One Child at a Time in Florence, South Carolina. One Child at a Time is a nonprofit anti-human trafficking organization. Glenda is a human trafficking investigator and holds a master's in crisis response and trauma. Glenda, I'm so glad to have you as my guest today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, today, as we know, is World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. So no better time to be talking about this issue.
Absolutely. It is so important. And, I just want to say before we get started that this is a tough conversation. It's a hard subject. So I want to tell everyone that is watching and listening that I'm very sorry that we're having to even discuss this, but it is so necessary. So
necessary. And no matter where you live and where you're watching from, this conversation is important.
Absolutely. Every 30 seconds around the globe, a child is taken into trafficking, sex trafficking. And so it's a $150.2 billion annual industry. And it's to narrow it down, it's people selling.
Yeah. Which is very sad. It's hard to even believe that that happens in our world today and in our small communities where you hear so many people say, nothing like that has ever happened here, but it does, and it can.
This year's theme that they're using is highlighting the importance of listening to victims and taking a victim-centered approach. And it's been so effective. One Child at a Time has been able to educate MUSC's ER on a victim-centered approach, as well as Florence County Sheriff's Office, the road officers there. And so they have a better understanding what human trafficking is and how to take care of those victims when they encounter them.
Well, I know you've done a lot of work with law enforcement, healthcare workers, hospitality workers, those in that industry that see so many people coming and going. So whatever line of work you're in, or just all of us in general, there are signs that we need to be aware of so that we may could help someone in crisis.
Absolutely. And the signs are really basic. It's hidden in plain sight. So if you don't know the signs, you will miss it. But I want to share with you just a few of the indicators that we have. Behavioral indicators, sudden change in behavior, appears frightened or resistant, looks to others before answering. That's a big one. So if you've got someone that you have grown up with and you see them shopping one day and they're with an older boyfriend or a female, even anyone can be a trafficker, right? And anyone can be a victim. But one of the telltale signs is when you ask them a question like you normally would, they look to someone else to answer for them. That's a red flag, as well as looking at the ground, not making eye contact, having expensive possessions they usually couldn't afford, flashing money. So there's a lot of telltale signs if we just pay attention.
Those are all good things for us to know as we are out and about in the community as well. Before we go any further, I do want to know how it came about that you started One Child at a Time. I know there's a story there.
There is a story. It started in 2016. I went back to school to finish up my business degree, and I took another path, and I went for psychology. And instead of finishing my business in a year, it took me back to 3 years. So, and in that was a human trafficking course. And so I looked it up and researched a group called A21. And I just couldn't get out of my mind. And I had an opportunity to go to India in 2017. And so I spent a week there in the slums of Mumbai, India. Wow. And I saw 1,000 prostitutes, in a 2-city block, and some as young as 8 years old. And it was just
heartbreaking,
crushing in spirit. It really changed me forever. So on the plane ride home, I was like, I can't wait to get back to the States. I don't have to worry about this. This is not in my community. This is not in my state. Yeah. This is great. Hurry up and get me back. So I got back to the States, and it was probably 5 months later, I saw on the news, I think you reported it actually,
oh, wow.
where Yeah, 2017, where 84 children were rescued by the FBI in a human trafficking sting operation, and the youngest was 2. So there, my heart sank, and I was back in the slums of Mumbai, India, crushed in spirit. And so I had to learn more about this. So January, a few months later, One Child at a Time was founded. And that's what I prayed, if I could just help one child. And so that February, I went to Cambodia. And there again, I educated myself on what human trafficking looked like. Um, and, there I learned it's easier to prevent human trafficking through education than it is rescue.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to rescue. And so education is key to preventing human trafficking.
Wow, what a story. And thank goodness you felt it in your heart and feeling led to do that so that you can help that one child, because you are helping a lot of children and a lot of parents and the community in general to understand more about this problem and how to help these children,
Yeah,
male, female, older, younger, man, woman, not get in these situations. Like you said, education is key. So that's what you're doing now, educating. Talk about how you educate the students, one child at a time.
absolutely. Well, for the past 3 years, we've educated over 9,000 children here in the Florence and Darlington area. And the kids, Nicole, this is so amazing. The kids want to talk about it. They
Good.
want to learn how to be safe online. And one of the key things that when I go into schools and I talk to these students is I ask them, how many of you have ever talked to a stranger online? 100% hand raise.
Wow.
And I ask them, yeah, 100% hand raise. And after I educate them and give them tools to rescue, I empower them with not only what a predator looks like, what they're having to face daily with apps and technology, but I also give them resource and a tool to not only help them save their life, but their friends' lives as well. And they want to learn because they don't tell their parents. And
Right.
I asked the question in one of my sessions. I said, why don't you talk to your parents about this? They'll take my phone. That's the number one response. They'll take my phone, and there's my outside to the world. I won't know what's going on.
Right.
Um, so, they were in isolation last year during the COVID pandemic, and the kids emailed me, and when I spoke in front of classrooms, they said they've never been on the internet more than they were in 2020 due
Right.
to there was nothing else to do.
Right. Couldn't go
So,
anywhere. Yeah.
no,
Well, phones, computers, none of that is going away. If anything, we're becoming more reliant on that technology. That technology is allowing me to talk to you today. So we want
absolutely.
technology for something good, but we know there are predators out there. And the only way to tackle this is to educate. And as parents,
Absolutely.
good parents just oh, I just want to protect my child, to just take your phone. That's just a natural instinct. So we have to
Exactly.
educate the parents, the caregivers as well, to understand this is what you need to know so you don't fall prey.
Exactly. And, some things that parents cringe when I say this, but the kids are relieved because the first thing I tell them is technology is not bad. Apps are not bad. They're fun. However, bad people use technology and use those apps to connect with you. So you have to be careful. Make sure your settings are in private. If your settings are private, they can't get to you. For parents, I always encourage them. It's so simple. I never tell them to downgrade a phone. If the newest phone is out there and you want your child to have it, by all means get it, because those safety measures are being put in
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Companies are waking up to this and acknowledging that there is a problem. So you can go into settings, and under screen time, you can actually put a time limit with a password so their phone shuts off.
Yeah.
And, when you lock your doors at night to keep the bad people out, unplug your Wi-Fi device.
Yeah. 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 It's the same
It's
thing.
that simple. You unplug the cord, you put the cord away, and they can't get in from where you live, and they can't get in from the world. It's that simple.
So what's the main message that you want to share today as we have an opportunity to talk to a lot of people watching? They're from all walks of life, all you know, different folks, from everywhere watching. What do you want them to know, whether they're a grandparent, whether they're in the medical industry, or whether they're, have grown kids or young kids, whatever the case may
Right.
be?
Right. I just would like people to understand that when their child gets lured into a conversation with a stranger online, they're honed in on their expertise. They know how to talk to a child. Um, we often, as parents, blame the children. You knew better. I taught you better. And the manipulation is what parents don't understand that children go through. They go through manipulation and coercion and fear. And most predators set up fake profiles. And through these fake profiles, they're able to, um, you know, start a conversation with an unsuspecting child. And through that conversation, they're able to groom them, build a relationship with them. They use friendship, attention, love, things that these children who are vulnerable may not be getting or feel like they're getting from home, because parents were so busy and we want everything for them. In order to give everything to them, we work hard. So we just have to be very mindful that this is going on, this is occurring. So open the conversation, the communication about online predators, and let them know that, okay, so if you make a mistake and you start talking with someone and you find out they're not who they say they are, even if you've sent them a nude picture, come to me, tell me. Everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Remember, parents, they are the victim. They
Yeah.
are the victim because, when we hand them that device and we allow them to have social media, um, especially at 10 years old, we're allowing predators to teach them about sex. So they're learning about sex from predators, from strangers online, instead of us. So we just have to be mindful, open communications, let them know you're not going to get your phone taken, but we are going to put measures in to make sure that you're safe. I had a parent of a 10-year-old last year contact me that she had been communicating with a stranger online and had sent pictures of her in her clothes. So it hadn't gotten that far yet. But the older sister, who was 12, kind of knew, what was happening, and alarmed the mom. And thank God for that, because if that 10-year-old had been by herself, the things he was saying to her is, okay, send the picture now, right now, right now, right now, demanding. And what are we taught at 10 years old? We're taught to be obedient.
Yes. Well, they're very good at what they do. That's why they're
Very
doing
good.
it. And children are not equipped for that. So we have to show the children grace, not shame them, and say, look, I understand you got caught up in something. Let me
Absolutely.
help you get out of this.
Right.
I'm here for you. Like you said, everyone makes mistakes. I love you.
Right. Right.
Let's not.
Recognize them first as a victim
Yeah.
and then go from there. And I have steps on my website, resources for parents on how to communicate with your child, what things to look for. If the child all of a sudden gets withdrawn and stays in their room a lot, sad, was once talkative but now is not, those are red flags. You need to open that communication line and find out what's going on with them, and reassure, ask those hard questions, because these kids tell me at least 5 to 6 times a day while they're on Snapchat, Instagram, especially those two, they are getting porn links, they're getting pictures of sexual content, and encouraged to give sexual content back. And so parents, they're at home asleep in the comfort of their bed while their child is upstairs being sextorted.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. And one of the analogies I use, Nicole, is, when we were small, we're around the same age. We won't tell our age though.
That's okay.
But, our parents taught us not to take candy from strangers,
Right.
right? Don't take candy from strangers.
Right. Don't talk to
Well,
strangers. Don't take candy.
right. Well, the world didn't get rid of all the candy. We knew better. And it's because we were educated.
Right.
Technology is not going anywhere. We need to educate our children if we're going to give them and provide them with a device that connects them to the world, because human trafficking, sex, sextortion. It's a global threat. It needs a global effort. And, when the community gets involved, trafficking is reduced.
Yes. Well, we want to help in that effort today to reduce that, to look out for our little ones, our children, our young adults, and anyone who may get caught up in that, because it's just not children. It can be
Right.
older, teens and young adults as
Absolutely.
well. This conversation could go on for a long time, but we will, like you said, have information in the description where they can reach you on your Facebook page and on your
Yes.
website and email. All of that will be available. And Glenda, I just want to thank you for this time today, for what you're doing to save our children, keep them safe. It's admirable, and you're a
Oh,
beautiful
thank you.
person inside and out, with a goal
Thank
to
you.
help our children one child at a time, as you say. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Folks, that's going to do it for this edition of Conversations with Nicole. Thank you for joining us. Until we see you again, we hope you have a great day.